In September 1954, Hollywood held its breath. A scandalous magazine had just dropped a bombshell allegation exposing a secret same-sex affair in Paris, something considered the ultimate taboo back then, and more than enough to instantly kill any career. Oh my God. Their target was none other than the ultimate ice queen of the silver screen, a woman who always radiated a dangerous aura, someone who made legendary names like Burt Lancaster and Lucille Ball look on with wariness and fear. Behind that radiant smile and flawless exterior lay a chasm of endless pain, extreme rebellion, and a broken heart that lasted until her very last breath, when she passed away from heart failure at the age of 93. What horrifying truth turned a devout girl into Hollywood's ruthless threat? Welcome back to the archive of hidden tragedies, where we strip away the glittering mask of the Golden Age. If you want me to explore any more movies, TV shows, or Hollywood secrets, just comment right below. And I'm Ryan. Please like and subscribe to the channel to start exploring the main content of this video with me. The Noir Goddess and the Obsession. When people talk about the dark world of film noir, they usually praise the sultry, explosive bombshells. But wait, trust me on this. You cannot overlook a one-of-a-kind beauty named Lizabeth Scott. She didn't just act. She manipulated the entire frame with a smoky, seductive voice that would take your breath away. Hers was a perfect blend of raw sensuality and the mysterious trap of a blonde goddess. The camera craved her. Every angle, every photo in the prestigious Harper's Bazaar proved the camera's passionate love affair with this woman. Surprisingly, the legendary Humphrey Bogart himself, upon their very first meeting, couldn't help but utter words of pure infatuation. He described eyes that sparkled like they held the entire galaxy, sharp cheekbones cutting through the light, and a physique that set every gaze on fire. Bogart called her a Cinderella with a magical, smoky voice. No superlative in the world could fully capture that supreme magnificence. And yet, this is truly crazy. Lizabeth never deluded herself into thinking she was beautiful. That contradictory humility only made her more dangerous. She radiated a terrifying perfection, a razor-sharp charm that caused powerful filmmakers like Hal Wallis to instantly fall into a miserable, unrequited love. Wallace was so obsessed with her that every night in his ultimate loneliness, he would replay Lizabeth's film reels over and over again. He was drowned in a fantasy desperate to possess more of a figure that would never belong to him. A far from happy ending for a man who made the mistake of falling for a devil disguised as an angel. Lizabeth Scott was an absolute addiction. When audiences saw her, they wanted more, always more. A visual hunger that could never be satisfied. Her power on screen didn't come from vulnerability, but from a deeply practical, sharp, and calculating kind of love. From Emma to Lizabeth, the rebellious roots. Before becoming a seductive Hollywood icon, she was Emma Matza, born on September 29, 1922, in Pennsylvania, to a devout immigrant family. Emma's childhood was confined within the strict walls of Marywood Seminary and a suffocating Catholic environment, where every emotion had to be hidden away. Even though her hardworking father always tried to push his daughter toward the light, the rigid discipline and repression from her family inadvertently became the perfect breeding ground for a fierce spirit of rebellion. Arrogance was bred into Emma's bones from a young age, when she flatly rejected all family expectations and hated her overly obedient birth name. Craving sovereignty and distinction, she chose the name Elizabeth Scott for herself. But she didn't stop there. In a moment of proud, impulsive defiance, she crossed out the first E to create a completely unique Lizabeth Scott, a name that perfectly reflected her sly, unpredictable wildcat personality. Lizabeth's path to glory began with long, grueling days that drained her strength in New York. She had to perform in cheap comedies, drift across the country on wretched tours, and at one point, perform for 64 consecutive nights without a break, like an endless loop of hell. Amid that loud, chaotic mess and total lack of privacy, Lizabeth chose to build an icy wall to withdraw into, nurturing an intense craving for solitude, just to survive. To survive in the heart of the Big Apple, Lizabeth had to grit her teeth and do commercial modeling for a meager wage of $25 an hour. However, those soulless photo shoots for various brands accidentally became an invaluable school that helped her sharpen her aura. Lizabeth learned how to manipulate the lens, master camera angles, and use her piercing gaze to dig into the souls of anyone looking at her. The ultimate weapon that would later turn her into a beauty monster. The Broadway stage was no bed of roses when Lizabeth only landed an understudy role for the arrogant star Tallulah Bankhead in the play The Skin of Our Teeth. The ruthless bullying from her senior dealt a devastating blow to the young girl, but it couldn't break her. Instead, those tears of bitter resentment backstage fueled a mad, raging ambition, triggering the hunting beast hidden deep inside Lizabeth, waiting for the right moment to strike back. A miracle finally answered Lizabeth's name on a night she felt like giving up completely during a performance of the play The Rain. Her raw, wild magic and lost soul on stage completely captivated the legendary producer Michael Meyerberg sitting in the audience. That fateful moment was the golden key that unlocked the doors to the movie Capital, bringing Lizabeth Scott into the empire of light and kicking off an era of spreading ultimate infatuation across Hollywood. Hollywood Reign and the co-star terror. Stepping into Paramount Studios in 1944, Lizabeth Scott was ready to tear apart every conventional Hollywood standard. Powerful producer Hal Wallace instantly saw the limitless potential behind the young girl's sharp eyes. He poured all his resources into backing her, turning her into an irreplaceable icon in just a few short years. Lizabeth's passion was like a fire, ready to burn down every set. The 1940s and 1950s witnessed the rise of film noir, a gritty genre that exposed the raw, dark underbelly of society, where trust was a luxury. Lizabeth stepped into this world naturally. She analyzed that after World War II, audiences were sick of cookie-cutter romantic formulas. They turned to film noir as a mirror reflecting an unstable reality and the depths of human psychology. In 1945, Lizabeth shook the film world with her debut movie, You Came Along, playing a call girl in love. With no room for cliché romance, her character brought a realistic, gritty, and raw kind of love. Her brilliant performance alongside star Robert Cummings created a massive explosion, forcing the public to obsessively notice a star who dared to expose the complexities of life. Just a year later, she plunged into the noir masterpiece, The Strange Love of Martha Ivers, 1946, alongside heavyweights like Barbara Stanwyck and Kirk Douglas. The film was a devastating blow to the moral decay of post-war upper-class America. Lizabeth's charm was so massive that the camera lens seemed spellbound. She herself admitted she loved the camera because she knew it loved her passionately. By 1947, the peak of fame called Lizabeth's name when she starred alongside legend Humphrey Bogart in the masterpiece Dead Reckoning, brilliantly embodying a scheming, dangerous femme fatale. That same year, she completely transformed in Desert Fury as a rebellious schoolgirl returning from boarding school. Each role was a brick Lizabeth used to open doors and build her own throne. Behind the radiant glamour, Lizabeth Scott became a living nightmare for her own co-stars. striking anxiety and dread into the hearts of top celebrities. Her rebellious, domineering nature and cold attitude on set more than once pushed heavyweights like Victor Mature or her leading men into states of extreme frustration. In 1948, she teamed up with Burt Lancaster in the movie I Walk Alone. Although they exploded with intense on-screen chemistry due to a deep past romantic relationship off-camera, Lizabeth's stubbornness and controlling nature pushed Lancaster to his breaking point. Furious, the actor felt like a miserable scapegoat and bitterly wanted to break his lucrative contract with Paramount Pictures. Lizabeth's domineering attitude reached its peak in 1949 with the film project Easy Living. Initially, star Lucille Ball was eyed for the career-defining female lead, but Lizabeth wouldn't let that happen. Using her power and icy demeanor, she pushed Lucille Ball down to a supporting role to completely monopolize the spotlight, proving she wanted to run the game all by herself. Her cruelty and coldness turned Lizabeth into an isolated iceberg in the heart of Hollywood. Many wondered what had turned the devout little Emma of yesteryear into such a terrifying person. Perhaps the crushing pressure of a heartless movie industry sharpened her thorns, turning ambition into the fuel for survival. Throughout her career, Lizabeth Scott left behind a massive legacy of 22 major films, a highly desirable number at the time. She used ambition as her reason for living, regardless of whether that path meant stepping over friendship or love. In the end, her rebellious streak never faded. She forged ahead like a whirlwind, leaving behind an astonishing cinematic empire. Scandals, secrets, and solitude. That cruelty and dominance eventually had to face a devastating storm, powerful enough to wipe out all her glory. In September 1954, a bucket of cold water was poured straight over the peak of Lizabeth's career, when a scandalous magazine decided to expose her darkest personal secrets. They bluntly accused her of engaging in a sinful lesbian relationship during a trip to Paris. Trust me, in that deeply conservative era, such an allegation was nothing short of a death sentence. The absolute end of a star's career. The one who triggered this media bomb was a curious and cruel real-life lesbian artist. That woman conjured up vicious slander, nearly destroying the entire life and reputation Lizabeth had painstakingly built for so long. The reporters of that time acted like hungry vultures, immediately swooping in to tear her private life to shreds. They were too curious, using the dirtiest methods to stamp Lizabeth with the lesbian label, a highly taboo topic that was shunned by American society back then. A queen's pride was trampled mercilessly under sensationalized headlines across newsstands nationwide. Refusing to succumb to fate, Lizabeth fiercely pursued a grueling, drawn-out legal battle to drag the slanderer into the light and reclaim her innocence. Shockingly and painfully, all her efforts to demand justice hit a dead end and resulted in a humiliating defeat. In her ultimate rage and helplessness before a cruel reality, the powerful woman vented all her bitter disappointment onto the critics. She bitterly declared that she was completely exhausted by the self-proclaimed smart crowd in New York City. The people who always opened their mouths to look down on Hollywood, calling the world's movie capital an intellectually empty void, when in reality, they were the shallow ones. Lizabeth asserted that Hollywood was not nearly as ridiculous as the baseless judgments of those outside critics. Great things, genuine works of art, still existed here, and the truth is that bad people show up on both coasts. After the horrifying shock that nearly ruined her entire career, the proud woman became more reclusive than ever. She was famous for protecting her private life to an extreme degree, turning it into an impregnable fortress against public scrutiny. Lizabeth was never one to complain or share personal stories with anyone in the media. This absolute secrecy was exactly what helped her retain a bit of scarce freedom, allowing her to completely control her life away from the overwhelming pressure. She didn't show a single vulnerability regarding her complex love life, which was full of fractured wounds. Yet, people still found ways to dig up the fleeting, tragic marriages of the woman labeled a terrifying threat. In 1947, right at the peak of her glamorous career, she secretly married Stas Reed. However, that romance, which seemed perfect, lasted a mere 12 months before completely shattering into 100 pieces due to rifts. The failure of her first marriage left a massive scar on Lizabeth Scott's proud soul. Years later, in 1958, she decided to open her heart once more to enter a second marriage with a man named Jerry Hersfeld. But fate seemed to be mocking the poor woman, as this romance also quickly ended in a 1959 divorce. 2 consecutive bitter heartbreaks on the battlefield of love completely extinguished her faith in a happy home. From that brutal moment on, the most beautiful woman of film noir decided to live single for the rest of her life. She abandoned all illusions of romantic love, choosing to step back to heal her deeply wounded soul. Even so, the ghosts of the past never stopped haunting her life with shadowy, scandalous rumors. People still whispered about secret trysts between her and powerful producer Hal Wallace over a long, notorious period. Not only that her shadowy, melancholy relationship with co-star Burt Lancaster remained an unsolved mystery, Lizabeth kept drowning in the fake glamour of the movie capital, chewing on the pain of loneliness in a royal valley. Seeking an escape for her battered soul in 1957, she unexpectedly pivoted toward a romantic musical path. The illustrious movie star released a personal album of soulful ballads named after herself, Elizabeth. She brought her signature smoky, haunting voice into deeply emotional romantic ballads. It was a work of art outside the Broadway stage, where she channeled all her brooding sorrow and ultimate loneliness. During that emotional performance, while crowds of fans were soaking in her singing, some felt bewildered. It felt as though they were witnessing a lonely paintbrush drifting aimlessly through the raging torrent of fate. Final curtain and legacy. Despite trying to fight against her destiny, Lizabeth Scott could never reclaim the full radiance of her past glory. She chose to completely withdraw from the entertainment industry, leaving behind a massive legacy of film noir masterpieces that remain immortal through time. Legendary works like Pitfall, Dead Reckoning, and Desert Fury will always be praised by generations to come. People will forever remember an independent woman who possessed the noble quality of a queen who never surrendered. On January 31st, 2015, the proud heart of Hollywood's threat officially stopped beating after a long battle with illness. She passed away peacefully in the hospital after being diagnosed with chronic congestive heart failure, living to the age of 93. Following a quiet cremation ceremony, all of her ashes were handed over to her longtime friend, Mary Elizabeth Scott. It was the final period on a life filled with brilliant triumphs, but also no shortage of tragedies buried for decades. The profound lesson we can draw from her life is the value of peace of mind. Never trade true happiness to chase after lavish illusions or glamorous but deceitful glories. Always stay true to yourself. Learn to protect yourself against life's storms and cherish those by your side. The story of the most dangerous woman in film noir has come to a close, but other dark mysteries are still waiting for the light. Are you curious to know why Claire Trevor, another beauty icon, was always considered an extremely unpleasant name? Leave your thoughts in the comments below about your favorite character in today's video. Don't forget to like, Share the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next Hollywood tragedies with me. Thank you all so much for listening to the Whispers of History. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos.